Try to keep those to a minimum so that we can conduct business up here. Just like I say, thank you all in advance, and I appreciate it if we can do that. Ms. Clotterbucker, roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg?
Present.
Mr. Smeltzer?
Present.
Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Bogner?
Here.
And Mr. Turner is absent.
All right. Moving forward to the adoption of the agenda, there are two things that we need to add. One of those would be a zoning ordinance amendment, and the second would be for an agriculture and residentially zoned properties ordinance. So to add those into the new business, I will need a motion to amend the agenda. All right, motion to amend the agenda has been made. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right, the agenda has been amended. Moving forward, we'll move into the citizen comment on agenda items.
Ken Farkas.
This is what I get for being early. All right, I'm going to apologize if I'm blunt and to the point. But at this point in these deliberations regarding the Cape Solar project, one must openly question the integrity, intelligence, and loyalty to the citizens of Page County. Any board member or commission member who would willingly sacrifice the ecological and economic well-being of Page County so some liberal Northern Virginia millionaire can have green power for their McMansions and horse farms. If they need it so bad, put it in their backyard, not mine. It's starting to feel like the movie Hunger Games. The city gets all the reward, Page County gets the shaft.
No more speakers.
All right. Moving forward, we'll go into the special use permit application for Mr. Bogner.
Roger Aaron Bogner has filed an application for a special use permit to operate a home occupation and accessory building located at 2535 Bixler's Ferry Road in Luray. The property contains a little over 3 acres and is currently zoned as agricultural. The home occupation will be operated out of an existing 30 by 30 detached accessory building. The proposed business will be a stained glass studio. He does plan to offer retail sales as well on site. The applicant initially plans to open to the public 2 to 3 days per week with the possibility of additional days and hours being added later in the future. As required by the zoning ordinance, home occupations are by right use. However, when they are conducted out of an accessory building, that is when the need for the special use permit comes in. That's why you have a special use permit application for this business. He did reach out to VDOT, the health department, and the building official. All of those agencies and departments had no objections to the request. The property does fall within the ag protection tier. Due to the low impact of the proposed business, I don't feel like it would change the character / area. Chapter 3, Goal 6, Section 6.2 says we should encourage economic growth that is compatible with the county's rural character while generating a positive net cash flow for the county. And we should also enhance the county's tourism and retail base. As required by the Virginia Code, we did notify adjoining property owners. We did not receive any written comments. I did receive a phone call today for, it was not a direct property owner, but one that was in the vicinity, who spoke very highly of his work and how he conducts his hobby now. So he's very supportive. The applicant, as far as fiscal impact, will be required to maintain a Page County business license, and staff is just requesting that you all consider recommending approval to the Board of Supervisors with the attached special use permit draft conditions, which were included in the packet. And I'll note that the applicant is present for any questions.
It is 7:06. I'd like to call the public hearing to order for Mr. Bogner's special use permit application.
There are no speakers. Again, the applicant is present, though, if you have questions.
I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:06. All right, discussion on Mr. Bogner's SUP application. If there's anything you'd like to say,
Not really. We talked about
Present
the
for
last one.
questions.
okay.
Just questions.
Okay. All right, no questions or anything, then we'll need a motion to proceed.
I'll give a motion to proceed.
Got a motion to, you got to make a motion to approve or deny.
Make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that the Page County Planning Commission recommend approval of the special use permit to operate a home occupation in an accessory building located at 2535 Bixless Ferry Road, Luray, and further identified by tax map number 31829 with the attached conditions.
All right, motion has been made, is there a second? Motion has been made and properly seconded. Ms. Cloudwalker, roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg,
Yes?
Mr. Smelser,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
and Mr. Bogner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving forward, we'll be discussing the special use permit application for Cape Solar. If Mr. Proch or Mr. Janey would like to come forward, I think there was a presentation.
Mr. Jamie?
Are you gonna click the slides?
Ken, or you? Just there.
Well, good evening. My name is Rob Probst, and I am with Urban Grid. And I thank you for this opportunity to share some information with you about the Cape Solar project that we've proposed. What I want to cover in the brief presentation tonight is the following. I just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about who we are as a company, give a brief overview of the Cape Solar site, talk a little bit about the community and economic benefits, demonstrate that solar is safe, reliable, and a clean energy source. I want to highlight some of the impacts of the proposed conditions that we've been discussing in the past several meetings. And then finally, I want to conclude by sharing some visualizations of two different vantage points of the project, some landscape renderings that were done looking onto the project. So a little bit about who we are as a company. We are a utility scale renewable energy project developer with over a decade of expertise in taking solar and energy storage projects through the full development process, from acquiring land, interconnection, getting the permits, and construction. We're headquartered in Richmond, Virginia, and we have folks located throughout the U.S. We are a Brookfield renewable energy company, and Brookfield Renewable operates one of the world's largest publicly traded pure play renewable power platforms. More locally, here in Virginia, these are just a sampling of some of the projects that we have in development across the Commonwealth, and the ones that are highlighted in yellow are currently in operation. And a little overview of the Cape Solar project. The map there on the right is just an outline of the project area. It's located north of Luray. It's bounded by Pass Run Road to the north and Hinton Road to the south. We have 571 acres under site control with a private landowner. And the project plan allows us to inject up to 100 megawatts AC of energy into the electrical grid. The tie-in point is our existing transmission lines that run through the southeast corner of the site. So there would be an on-site substation. And the timing for construction would be a start in 2023. And this preliminary layout was included in the permit application packet. I also have larger maps here I can circulate. I know we've looked at this in past meetings, so I really won't spend a lot of time on it. If you had any questions, you have a larger map that we can look at. Some of the economic and community benefits associated with the project is a guaranteed tax revenue for Page County over the 35-year project life. This comes from an increase in assessed real estate taxes, which are up to 8 to 10 times the existing assessed value. The way we've seen this work in other counties is the ground underlying the panels are assessed at a much higher value than the current agricultural value. Sometimes as much as $11,000, $12,000, $13,000 per acre. So there's increased real estate taxes. Unlike a housing project, there's no new county infrastructure and services required for solar development. So we don't need water and sewer and upgraded roads and et cetera. No air emissions, of course. It's a positive green publicity for Page County. This is something that another county that we're working in is trying to leverage to attract a data center that's told the county that they very much want to have solar energy nearby that they could tie into, so that's become an economic development driver for that particular county. There's an opportunity for sheep grazing to occur to maintain the grass. It doesn't have to be mechanical cutting, so it's a nice agricultural use and for a business opportunity for somebody to literally rent the sheep. That's kind of how these things work in other project areas. Local and regional construction jobs and opportunities for local businesses for things like gravel supply, concrete, fencing, landscaping, etc. Again, unlike a lot of different commercial businesses or neighborhoods, there's no daily traffic during the operations period. There's maintenance vehicles that come and go, but it's not very many trip traffics once operational. And then another thing that's fairly unique about solar projects is that at the end of the useful life, the land could be reclaimed for farming or timberland, and that's pretty unique. Of course, we would have a decommissioning agreement in place with the county that's required as most counties across the Commonwealth. Again, something very unique. Most commercial businesses don't commit to removing their facility at the end of their useful life. I think that'd be really awesome for like towns that have abandoned Kmart's and large parking lots right now. They'd love to have something like that. And it avoids the land being developed for neighborhoods. So, from a population standpoint, it helps keep rural areas rural. Just to dive in a little bit deeper on the economics of the project and the benefits to the revenue that would flow to the county. there's two different tax regimes that could occur. One is the machinery and tools tax, and one is the revenue share. And the revenue share is something that the legislature adopted a couple of years ago, and several counties have adopted it throughout the Commonwealth. It'd be something that each county would have to adopt to take advantage of the revenue share concept, but it's one or the other, it's not both. So under the M&T, machinery and tools or M&T tax, over the life of the project, the estimated tax on solar equipment would yield just over $5 million. And then the switching station equipment, which is owned by a utility, would be 1.1 million. And that tax is, would fall under the M&T tax even if the county did elect a revenue share. The revenue share would really only apply to the solar facility, not the switching station, which the utility would have. That would continue to be under M&T tax. And then if the county adopted the revenue share, we're talking about $1,400 per megawatt installed. So, again, if it's a smaller project, 67.5 megawatts, you're talking almost $4.5 million over the life of the project. Where if it was a 100 megawatt project, it's about 6.6 million over the life of the project. And just to be clear, those are dollars that flow to the county regardless of the energy output of the facility. That's really tied to the nameplate capacity of the facility, not the energy that's generated on any daily, weekly, or yearly basis. Then, of course, the property tax, about 1.1 million over the life of the project. Once the land would be taken out of land use at the start of the facility, that would be a $100,000 payment in operational year one. And then in addition, there's an opportunity for additional payments, voluntary payments that Urban Grid could make under a siting agreement. And a siting agreement is, again, legislation that the Commonwealth adopted a couple of years ago. And again, a number of counties have taken advantage of this to receive additional payments from the solar developer to mitigate different impacts. I want to talk a little bit about solar safety, reliability, and a clean source of energy, and I want to do that by just sharing a few pictures with you. The first picture here on the left-hand side is of Lakeside Middle School. This is a middle school that my daughter actually attends, and you'll notice the solar panels there on the roof of the school. And I think it's also interesting to note that there's picnic tables below. This is not uncommon. It's not like Lakeside Middle School is so unique. There's hundreds of schools across the country that have solar panels on them. I understand that the Page County VOTEC Center has solar panels on them. My point being that solar panels have been adopted widely. People put them on their homes. Hospitals have them on their facilities. And here, a middle school has put them right over where children eat their lunch. These things, operate safely and cleanly. Reliability, I have a picture here of the Vanguard 1. It's the first satellite that was placed in orbit in 1958 to use solar panels. So this is a technology that's been around a long time. It's not new or something that people are still trying to figure out. It's very well understood. It's very robust and extremely reliable, reliably generates clean energy. And then the final picture here is of a solar facility that the National Renewable Energy Lab has some studies ongoing to look at growing different types of crops underneath and near panels to understand how the productivity of those crops is affected. Again, not terribly unique. Well, there's a lot of countries around the world that are taking a look at this. I wouldn't call it widespread yet, But I think the important point that I wanted to make here is that in speaking with a gentleman who was doing some research at this facility named Jordan Macknick with NREL, he said, overall, what we've seen, and we test all the food crops who go into the panels, is that there's no leaching. I know it's something that folks have concerned about. Is there something that's coming out of the panels that's creating toxic runoff or contaminating the soils or what have you? And I would say that this facility kind of makes the point that they're growing food, crops that people are going to eat. And again, it's not just unique to this one NREL facility, but this is being looked at around the world with similar results. You're not going to place something above and near crops that is going to potentially contaminate a food source.
He is not in part of the public hearing. His time limit is not just part of the presentation of the public hearing. We will get to the citizen comment, but Mr. Brooks, you're more than welcome to continue.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to take a moment to take a look at the proposed permit conditions or the effects of them. The Page County GIS Department assessed the impact of the proposed permit conditions, as they were all together, what the implications would be, and they created this map here that you see where pretty much the entire project area there's not 1 acre to develop, and effectively, the result would be that the collection of permit conditions deny the landowner's use of any portion of their project or any portion of the land for a solar project. I think they're excessive, quite frankly. They go well beyond what is reasonable to mitigate the proposed use. I'll just note that we did submit some draft permit conditions in our application, which we think adequately address some of the issues. And there are things that should be mitigated by all means, associated with the solar project. And I just put together just this one pager. I'm not going to walk through it, but essentially there's construction-related issues, stormwater and erosion issues, and viewshed issues, and utilizing the roadways during construction. These are all real things, but there's appropriate mitigations for them that we've again placed in the application. I just did an abbreviation of some of those here. I'll just pass those around. Also, I just want to draw your attention to the ordinance, section 125-54B2B. It notes that a proposed project, any type of development project, not solar necessarily, should have minimum adverse impact on the community with regard to traffic generation, noise, lights, dust, drainage, water quality, air quality, odor, fumes, and vibrations. And I'll just note that once operational, the solar facility does not produce any traffic generation. There's no discernible noise coming from the project. There's mitigation for the lights, the very minimal amount of lighting. No dust. The drainage, the water quality are all mitigated through stormwater management requirements that would be imposed by DEQ. There's no air emissions, no odor, no fumes, and no vibrations. Finally, as I said, this is the last piece of my presentation here. I just wanted to share some visualizations from a couple different viewpoints of the project. I know there's definitely some sensitivity about the open views here along US 340. And what I'm showing here is the current view from 340. And then if you were to put the landscape in, and as I noted, the height of the landscape here is 6 to 8 feet. trees, 2 to 3 foot shrubs. The width of the buffer is 25 feet, meadow, 15-foot tree and shrubs, and a variety of species of plantings there, and what that would look like. This is at planting, and this is at 10 years. As you can see, it's extremely well filled in. The other landscape visualization I wanted to share with you is from Old Farm Road. Again, a relatively kind of open view onto the project, which I can appreciate people would be concerned about. Again, with plantings, at planting and the setbacks, 6 to 8 foot trees, 2 to 3 foot shrubs. And then at 10 years, again, quite filled in. And then finally, I know during the last, or some of the early meetings we had talking about the project here, there was some concern expressed about, what the substation, switching station equipment would look like. And I actually endeavored to find a similar sized solar project, which I did find in Greensville County, called Pumpkin Seed Solar. And we took these pictures from the road. This is approximately 300 feet away, with unobstructed view of the substation and switching station. And then this is an existing approximately 100 to 125 foot vegetative buffer that just is between the road and the substation, switching station. That's all I have. I very much thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
May I ask a question?
No, ma'am.
You showed no images of the.
There's no, the questions are from the planning commission.
I'm sorry.
Any questions from the commissioner? Mr. Probst? All right. Thank you for your time, Mr. Probst.
Thank you.
No question. No question.
It is 7:29. I'd like to call the public hearing portion to order. Ms. Clutterbuck.
All right, so before we get started and call the public to the podium, we are going to, for the record, we will not be reading all of the comments. I assure you, all of the commissioners have been provided copies of any written comments that we received. But for the record, we're going to state your name and whether you supported the project or were opposed to the project. So the following citizens submitted comments and they had objections to the project. Deborah and Charles Zirkle.
We're opposed.
Perry and Marilyn Rule.
They're opposed, but he's in the hallway.
Leon and Sonia Vines. Shirley Comer. Jonathan Snyder and Jonathan Max Snyder. Bailey on behalf of Spacious Skies Shenandoah Valley LLC. John Rutt on behalf of Rutt Enterprises. Diane Hilliard. Eugene and Betty Fox. Wayne and Joan Stanley. Donald and Karen McTatters. Christopher and Cheryl Adams. Jane and Bruce Mangum. Nancy Good, Sharon Dean, and Matt Applegate. Christy Lee Greer. Alan and Nadia Louderback. Joanne Martin. Charles Zirkle. Mason Snyder. Elizabeth Snyder. And Bertha Dale Chaplin. Glenn and Virginia Bradley. Melvin and Peggy Bradley. Kathy Herbert. V. Bradley. Will and Susan Daniels. Eileen, Brennan, Porter, and Westport.
3312.
Read some of the comments. Please read the comment from Charles and Deborah Zirkle.
Ma'am, if there's another outburst, I'm gonna ask it to be removed.
Okay,
For the record, they are available via FOIA request. You can put a FOIA request in to the county administration tomorrow, and we'll happily get you copies.
Mr. Chairman, there are 33 speakers. Jane Judy.
My name is Jane Judy, and I reside in the 4th voting district. Mr. Larry Foltz is currently my BOS representative. I appreciate the opportunity to express my opposition to the use of Page County farmland for solar panels. I've always been a friend of agriculture as I grew up on a farm in central Virginia. I've always valued my upbringing and now even more appreciate the common sense, practical lifestyle training acquired from my heritage. Jess and I came to Page County out of college in 1972, actually to stay 6 months in a training position. We soon came to appreciate what the natives saw and loved about the Page Valley. With job opportunities for both of us in the area of agriculture and nutrition, some 50 years later, we still call it home. After my nostalgic introduction, I do have some points regarding my opposition. First, the God-given beauty of the majestic mountains and the Shenandoah River surrounded by pastures, fertile fields, and livestock allow Page citizens scenic panoramas that are not shared by other people or places. Other places perhaps more suited for solar panels. Secondly, arable, productive farmland, privately owned and farmed, is a lifestyle to be treasured, as small farms have been the backbone of Virginia agriculture. To sacrifice them, in my opinion, is a regrettable loss. Arable land is a resource for food production in times of lack. Plans for future well-being surely include protection of the major source of food and fiber. Harking back to my college days, as I was completing my master's degree, I used a computer to compile numbers for some simple statistics. The computer was much larger than this room. New computers are now handheld cell phones, they're in wristwatches, etc., etc. Advancement in technology has shrunk the giant machines, making them much more accessible, user-friendly, and affordable generally. I am hopeful to soon see the ability to capture solar energy for mankind's use, not from multiple unsightly large panels gobbling up acres, but to powerful minuscule apparatus working more efficiently while providing much appreciated curb appeal.
Yes.
I appreciate the protection provided by a constitution for private landowners. However, I believe the property owners share responsibilities in preservation of the quality of life and the natural beauty we all appreciate.
Yes.
As a tax-paying citizen, when given an opportunity to speak, I am obliged to use my voice to protect Page County farmland. Thank you.
Yes. Mike Bryant.
Good evening. I'm not going to be quite as elegant. I'm going to get down to the heart, what it means in my heart to me. I'm a 70-year-old guy. I've lived in Page County my entire life, except for being born here and moving here when I was probably 6 months old. The thing about the county is I have no family here. I have a brother in North Carolina. They have numerous times tried to get me to move to North Carolina. The reasons being is because this is my home. I admire the beauty of Page County, the beauty of Luray. What this is going to do, it's going to affect our tourist system. I was employed when I was 14 out at the caverns. You have comment after comment from people all over the world coming in, making comments about how beautiful this county is and how beautiful the town and quaint the town of Luray is. You go up on it, you send them up on the mountains, they go up on the mountains, they can look down, they can see all of God's land right there in front of them. You don't have to look at some big mess here or some big mess here. And as for putting greenery up around the road, that don't help the fact. When you ride down the road, you want to be able to see the green fields. You don't want to be looking at some patch of weeds and trees and everything. And the people in Page County don't want this. And I don't understand why you all don't get this. You need to be catering to what the people want, not what this solar panel wants. And this has been ineffective in quite a few counties in the state. They have turned it down. And if you go in and you do some research, you're going to find out why they turned it down. And I can't see land going to waste, and I can't see Page County Luray has so much to offer to tourists. And that's what we need to be concentrating on, our tourists and getting our downtown areas with businesses and stuff to support all this. We don't need to be worrying about tearing up our agricultural land and making Page County look like a dump, because that's what it's going to do. Thank you.
Snyder?
You were quite eloquent.
Good evening. Thank you to the Page County Planning Commission for looking at this application. It shouldn't even be before you. It's already been denied once, and here it is back again and bigger. This project's too big for Page County. It's bigger than the downtown Luray area. The Cape project is adjacent or close to over 100 homes, and all the risks are unknown. The Cape project proximity to the town and subdivisions will devalue the nearby properties. I don't care what Urban Grid says, nobody's going to want to pay the same price once you have this next to you. The Cape project is on prime soils that need to be protected and used for food producing agriculture, not permanently destroyed. Mr. Probst said that this will be returned to farmland after it is completed, but he has never shown us one example of that happening anywhere. The project offers no long-term job opportunities. I know he was talking about maybe employing some sheep, but before, Urban Grid told us that they couldn't put sheep by their precious panels or they would break them. The Cape project will carry extra burden on county resources, the zoning department, stormwater management, EMS, fire department, law enforcement. The token of extra tax will not offset all these costs. The Cape project will affect views from many attractions: Shenandoah National Park, Skyline Drive, Appalachian Trail, Massanutten Mountains, and the 340 Scenic Corridor. I don't care what his pictures show. If anybody has gone and looked at the one by the dinosaur land, the one in Shenandoah County, or any of the other projects, they'll know that that's not what it's going to look like. There are 519 rental cabins in Page County. They can all potentially lose revenue due to the construction of this project. And when they come here and they're doing all this construction and all the extra traffic and the noise and the dust and the mud, what if they all demand all their money and go home, and all those people lose that business, have bad reviews, and lose future business? Urban Grid has gone behind the scenes making suggestions, recommendations, and possible deals with county employees, former commissioners, and board of supervisors, and our tax-paid attorney. The solar developer already did a bait and switch on Dogwood. Please don't let this happen again. The county should wait until Dogwood has been completed before accepting new projects. That was mentioned at Board of Supervisors, but they never did the paperwork on it. The county should wait until an ordinance is approved and not one written by Urban Grid, as Mr. Probst wrote one before. Cape Solar Project is not responsible solar. This is predatory solar. Thank you.
Kenny Geology?
Hello, it's me again. I would like to first thank y'all for your time and effort over the industrial solar issues facing the county. I'd also like to mention a few things that have come to my attention concerning the interconnection service agreement between Urban Grid and PJM signed by all parties on August 11th and 12th of 2021. This agreement was provided by Mr. Probst through FOIA with redactions of dates, the service agreement number, and certain dollar amounts. Fortunately, the PJM website has the unredacted agreement available to the public. The interconnection agreement states a few things that Mr. Probst apparently does not want us to be aware of. Per the agreement, all local, county, and state permits must be acquired before March 31st, 2023. Also, on or before December 2nd of this year, Urban Grid must demonstrate completion of at least 20% of project site construction, and all major generating units must be delivered to the project site on or before January 31st, 2023. And all generating units must demonstrate commercial operation by December 31st, 2023. But per Mr. Probst, construction is to begin in 2023. Now, PJM may at its discretion extend these deadlines in the event of delays not caused by Urban Grid that could not be remedied by exercise of due diligence. Since Dogwood was approved by the BOS nearly 3 years ago and has yet to show any demonstrable progress, I'm left wondering if it was deceptive or outright fraudulent for Urban Grid to enter into an agreement for which there is no reasonable hope of success in meeting these time deadlines, hoping for an extension by blaming the county for delays. We do know already that the panel height has changed significantly from what they originally advertised, and that the current Dogwood site plan only vaguely resembles what was approved. Aside from the fact that prime ag land is not the best place to site industrial facilities, should we continue to do business with an LLC that seeks to obscure the real intent and changes their specifications after every meeting? Urban Grid has also been asked repeatedly for decommissioning examples and have produced none. They assure us this land will be returned to ag production, but they can't show us any that they have actually done. And by Mr. Probst's own admission, the facility will not actually be required to produce any power, but the county will still get their little bit of revenue, and Urban Grid will still get their tax credits. And as far as the reliability of solar power, without huge battery storage for 100 megawatts, it's only reliable as long as every day is a sunny day. Thank you.
Ken Farkas?
Make that 27. All right, I want to talk about risk and reward with regards to this solar project. The people in Northern Virginia, they will get power generated from the solar farm. Not much, because in our latitude and our geographic location, they actually don't produce hardly anything. And what is their risk? There is no risk. Their McMansions and their horse farms will get power regardless of the source. Cape Solar, their reward, millions of dollars from this project. What is their risk? None. They will have changed names, gone out of business, become insolvent 50 times by the time something goes wrong. The landowner, his reward is to get millions of dollars of rent over the lifetime of the project, and his risk is almost none. Any litigation against the landowner are legally limited. Even Mr. Janey over there, his reward is thousands, probably tens of thousands in legal fees. And he's got no risk either, because he's just doing his job. Now how about we the people of Page County? We get to check the green box. Ooh. We also get a yearly check that's less than 1/4% of the current annual budget for Page County. Less than 1/4%. What is the risk? We reduced prime farmland by 2.02%. I had been saying 14%. I made a math error and I apologize. The solar company says this is insignificant. The Page County Comprehensive Plan says any reduction in prime farmland is a travesty. You have the potential loss of revenue from surrounding homes declining in value. How about killing hundreds of birds a year in the middle of a bird sanctuary? How about EMF generation will make the neighbors sick? You got potential groundwater contamination from storm runoff, battery leakage, and heavy metal leaching from a couple of 100,000 solar panels, not the 15 on top of his elementary school. You have the potential lawsuits from neighbors like me, who have lost the use of their homes through water contamination, EMF sensitivity, glare, whatever. You have the likely Superfund site from the next tornado, hurricane, or hailstorm. You will definitely have more first responder training requirements and associated costs to properly be prepared for the unique hazards associated with a large-scale solar facility. You'll definitely need more police action to ensure the security of this site. You'll likely get reduced revenues from what used to be a KOA campground because fewer people want to look at a solar farm. You're definitely going to have to hang a sign on Page County that says, yes, we support the enslavement and death of the Uyghur people in communist China, so we can check the green box. And you're probably going to have a loss of tourist income due to this big, ugly thing sticking out like a blistering sore in the middle of an otherwise pristine, idyllic, rural setting.
Chris Garrett.
Hi, Chris Garrett, Page County resident, concerned Page County resident. Thank you so much for being here again. The other day, we did a trip to, where did we go, Steve? Bunker Hill, West Virginia. There is a huge Amazon distribution site there. Has anybody been there? It is a massive, massive building. There's not a single solar panel on their building. Their beautifully manicured grounds have walking trails throughout them. Not a single solar panel on those grounds. Not a single solar panel on their parking lots. And I thought it was really strange that these people who say that Amazon says that they want to go green by the year 2025 have not done anything on their own property. So they're coming to areas like ours. And I don't want to say that we're slightly depressed, but we're slightly depressed as compared to Northern Virginia. And they're trying to use our land to get their energy credits that they want to go green. So I think if Amazon wants to have solar panels, they need to start looking at putting them on their own buildings, their parking lots, and their walking facilities. I've heard other people talk about, people have a right to do with their property as they want to. And I have to agree with that to a certain extent, but there's two things. One, in the Bible, it says, do unto others as you would have done unto you. I think I have that right. By doing this is harming our community. And we can't allow one homeowner to do so much damage to our community. We can't have them hurt our rental income, our tourist income, and we definitely can't have them hurt our farmland. I'm for solar. I think it should belong on houses, rooftops. I think it can go on the medians in between 211, but it does not belong on prime farmland, and it definitely doesn't belong in an area that our tourists come down 340 as a main thoroughfare to hit our area. It's the first thing of what they're going to see. Now, I've been coming to these meetings pretty much from the beginning. It's been, 3.5, 4 years now? And, there's been a small group that has been here and managing to keep everybody active and involved. And there's a lot of new faces out here today. And I don't know why they're here, and you don't know why they're here. So, if you'll indulge me, for the people who are here who don't want solar, let me hear you.
Susan Troball.
Hello, I'm out of my element. Because my family came out of Shenandoah National Park. I retired to take care of my family. My family left and passed on, and once I got over myself, I decided you need to do something. So I got into the vacation rental business. I've had people from England, people from Scandinavia, and a lot of people from India. The people that from India that come usually just take the chairs and sit out in the yard and take the energy. And do we have an issue? Time out? Oh, okay. And when they go back to their countries, and they tell me before they go, I keep a tablet and they write what they think. I'm going to send all my people here. Next year, their people come. They're sitting in the yard just like this. My people didn't want to carry their junk very far. They set it down right at the end of the park, so I joined the park. If you ever ride up the top of Tanner's Ridge, you're going to see a view where you just want to sit on the porch. When I retire, I'm going to do a professional rocking chair teaching on the deck. The view is that good. However, they have to come down 340 if they're coming from Dulles or 211. They're all over. And these beautiful pictures with the solar panels on the schools and in the yard. It had nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with their farmland. And these negotiations, these pennies that they're offering us, Page County, know your worth. Know your worth. I would have started out with free electric for the grandchildren or somewhere down the line, if not now. This is not what is best for what we're known for. And air tourist travel is off the charts. Everybody comes here. We're on a permanent vacation living here. Oh, that's my time?
No, ma'am, you get
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Oh, and I want to thank you all for doing your job. I know it's not easy, and there's a lot of conflict, but know your worth. Believe your people. Your children are going to be here, because there's no better place to be. And that comes from getting kicked out of the park. You turn it around and you make it nice. You know, they're offering a little bit of money. Well, money comes and goes. This cannot be replaced. Once you put a big ugly on it, you got a big ugly. And that's all you're going to have. Thank you.
Kathy Herbert.
I'm Kathy Herbert. I live on 340, and I want to take a different tack on this, partially because I'm concerned about practical things like my well. The land for the proposed site is composed entirely of karst, and that's the land formation that produces the area's caverns, sinkholes, and the sinkholes can swallow up barns, houses, and you name it. That kind of land is often described as a sort of Swiss cheese. Water flows under the surface in multiple and uncharted directions. If you change the flow of the water, you can damage the wells of farmers and residents, self-included. Karst is easily damaged by flooding or runoff, and it is often, that damage often comes with solar plants. I want to briefly quote a report from the AES Corporation, an industrial solar developer, concerning a potential site in New York State. This is from the solar company. Karst terrain is characterized by features such as cavern openings, sinkholes, closed depressions, and gaining and losing streams. The land over these caverns may stay intact until there is not enough support for the land above the open space. Just pause for a moment to consider the effects of convoys of trucks and heavy equipment carrying tons of solar panels. The collapse of land can occur, creating a sinkhole. Human activities and development can expedite cavity formation and trigger a collapse. Now this is from a solar company. Karst terrain can create engineering and environmental issues to photovoltaic developments due to subsidence, impacts to groundwater quality, operational losses, and stormwater flooding and control. According to this corporation, avoidance of karst features is generally the primary mitigation measure during planning, design, and construction. There are a number of places where solar and renewables have been denied when karst is present out of concern for the effects on area wells. To go off on another tangent, Spain began installing solar plants in 2004. A 2019 study in Spain analyzed where solar plants should and should not be built. This is like looking at a whole lot of plants. The basic conclusion was terrains with less than a 5% graded slope, and that's more effective for solar production, and stay away from karst. That's like the take-home message of solar production from 2014. So, okay, I'm done? All right. I'll pick it up the next time.
Forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Melohonic or Hauk?
He left.
Okay. Mike Kimes?
Good evening. Thank you for listening to all of us. I'm a Page landowner since 1999 and a resident since 2015. I'm going to try not to harangue you. I'd like to touch on four things. One is the special use permit. Another is the reality of the buffer zone, and some thoughts on land use and size. So regarding the permit, paragraph 10 of the special use permit request says no part of the facility shall be located on prime farmland or farmland of statewide importance. But if you look the land up on the VDCR, almost all of it is designated as prime farmland or of statewide importance. No. The gentleman from Cape Solar said a buffer would be put in, and he had some beautiful artist renderings of that. If I could just maybe pass these around. Somebody mentioned the double tollgate up there by Urban Grid. Urban Grid doesn't own that now. Dominion Energy bought that in 2017. They're like, we'll buy this. But this has been this way since that was put in. Although it started out with more trees, they died. Nobody's replaced them. I don't know what these people plan to do, but I'm sure it's not in there that they'll make it like the artist rendering says. The other one is reality of land use. It's occurred to me that we're on the cusp, I hate to use the word, of a paradigm shift, and that this county is going to start to grow. Things are going to change. Since this pandemic, people have been coming out of here, they've discovered us. We've got the new development at Outlanders, which is going to produce $700,000 a year in funds for the county, $30 million. The Caverns is thinking about trying to make a destination resort. I understand Ryan Holmes is looking to build a big subdivision. The genie's out of the bottle, I think. We can't put it back. I think people are going to start to come to Page County. We get high-speed internet out here. All those people who can choose to move because they work from home are trying to come out to God's country. We own a rental cabin. People love this place. So the gentleman from Urban Grid said, well, the use of this land is good for a solar farm because residential development won't go there. I'm not sure residential development is something we can avoid, and residential development may not be a bad thing. It doesn't have to cost us a lot for infrastructure if we're smart and we require the developers to pay their fair share of it. And it would be a lot less, it would be more harmonious with this county to have a planned residential development there than a bunch of solar panels. The other comment is it's going to be, I think, $8 million over 35 years. That works out to be about $230,000 a year. With inflation, that'll be a whole lot less 35 years from now, depending on the development. And the last thing is about size. Size matters. And if you look at a lot of the other solar developments, they're a lot less than these, 180, 117 acres. So you don't have to make it as big as they want.
Jane Kelly.
Kelly, born and raised here, and I came tonight because I am opposed to the solar panels on the land. I love the green fields, I don't want to see the other things, and I don't believe it would be a good fix for Page County, and it's really not going to help me in any way, so that's why I'm here.
Bonnie Snyder.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Snyder. I was born and raised in Page County. I went to Shenandoah Elementary and I graduated from Page County High School. This is a beautiful county and it is my home. It afforded me as a teenager a part-time job at the T-Bowl in Shenandoah, where I worked for Leroy Tomney, a businessman. I also worked part-time at the Pioneer Bank in Stanley, and moving to Luray, I worked at a part-time job at Wallace Business Forum. Then I was full-time at the Textile. I worked for the Page Valley Bank, and I was also a deputy dispatcher at the Sheriff's Department. And the only reason I mention all of these things is to shed light on the fact that many of these businesses are still right here in Page County, but we've lost the industries. And with the industries went the good-paying jobs with higher wages that could support a family. Wallace is gone, the Textile is gone, and Louisville has reduced its employee numbers. With the lack of industry and jobs, there's the lack of opportunity for our young people to stay in Page County and to make a living wage. So we see our children leaving the county that they used to call home because of lost opportunities. If your idea is in thinking that the solar industry will fill in this void, you are mistaken. The last industry to leave us was Wallace, employing over 100 people with the 3 shifts that it maintained, and the Textile had 300 people over the 3 shifts. The solar industry does not have the capacity to remedy our employment issues, but it does have the potential to do great harm to our county environmentally. That is why we are asking you to vote no on the Cape Solar field and no on any other solar fields in Page County. For now, we should be adopting a wait-and-see attitude, looking at a few years down the road of operation in the dogwood field. We can have some real-life pros and cons that we have experienced through the years with dogwood. Now, I see no problem myself with taking a cautious approach here, and I hope you feel the same way, and that you will vote no to the solars in Page County.
Dalton Good.
How you doing? So this is the first time I've ever been to a board meeting ever. I'm against solar in Page County. I like going up on the park, up on the drive, and looking down and seeing Lake Arrowhead. You can actually see Lake Arrowhead. I believe with all those solars, it would look like 2 Lake Arrowheads in there, probably even bigger. We have native trout that are in the Hawksbill Creek. They also stock trout in the creek. But the native trout, they come down from Skyline Drive through the Hawksbill. They meet right there at Marksville Bridge. That's probably going to impact those. So yeah, no solar. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina Wolf.
I'm
I'm not opposed to solar power in Page County. I have solar power panels on my own property. What I'm opposed to is permitting utility scale facilities without having a comprehensive solar power plan. There are two reasons for this. Less than a year ago, the supervisors of one of our neighboring counties, Frederick County, was sued for $7.5 million for denying a conditional use permit for a utility scale power generating facility. The basis for the lawsuit is that the county had previously granted 2 other such permits, and to not grant a third without a comprehensive solar plan is arbitrary, capricious, and unreasonable. I don't know what's going to happen with a suit, but I don't think we need to open ourselves up to doing that. Yes. Another reason to opposing this without a comprehensive plan is that we need to not let Cape Solar decide how we want to do things. In their pictures that they showed today, and that's in the application, they talk about the trees and shrubs and being planted with offset spacing not to exceed 10 feet and the minimum height of 3 feet. That's what it says. That's not very much, and that's not what we saw in those pictures. The poles and the panels will be they'll be up to 20 feet. So even if these plants are this big, brought to be 20 feet, it'll take 20 years. I don't think that's the way we want to go. We want to make the plan and decide how it's going to work out for Page County. So, bottom line is, let's make the decisions. Solar can always come in later, but let's not do it yet. Thank you.
Paula Atwood.
I want you to know I agree, and I agree and commend all the speakers here earlier, and I want to tell just a little human story. 50 years ago, I was 17 years old. I drove down 340, and I was so in awe of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the Shenandoah Valley. I pulled off the side of the road to look and see, take it all in. And I could not figure out how the people that were going in the opposite direction could be driving at this incredible speed of 55 miles an hour and just be whizzing by. I feel that way right now with this solar project. I have this same feeling with Urban Grid, whizzing by and not stopping to really take in what is going on. To this day, I never drive down 340 without losing that sense of awe. And these citizens that have already spoken, they have that sense of awe. And I guarantee you that each one of you have that sense also. Thank you.
Robert Depew.
Good evening, panel. Just a little, I'm a resident of 368 Old Farm Road. From what I understand, these panels will probably be visible out my back door, back windows. I have a question for the, this is the Planning Commission, is that correct? All right, now you will make a recommendation to another decision-making group, and that would be called what?
Board of Supervisors.
The Board of Supervisors. So you'll make your decision and you'll present your recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, correct? All right. I will not repeat what others have said. They have said it very well, and I agree completely with everything that's been said except the presentation for the farm. I'm totally against it. Property values, all that negative, and the benefits to be received from it are just, they don't match at all. My biggest challenge tonight is, I was at the last meeting, and now I'm understanding from one of our speakers that she's been to 3 or 4 meetings in this room on this same issue. I'm trying to understand, with the overwhelming lack of support, is the best positive way I can put it, what part of no doesn't the Planning Commission understand? Enough said.
Catherine Sotomayor,
She defers.
Benny Cubbage,
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to have a chance to speak. I'm going to talk one thing from the farming standpoint. With the farmland, you know, we don't have that much prime farmland to start with, and I know young kids, well, I'll say young kids, young to me, 30, 40 years old, that want to get started farming. And there ain't no land, you know, I mean, a farmer's got to have land. Mr. Berner knows that as well as anybody. And so if you take it up for solar panels, that's gonna mess it up. There's not gonna be any. And another thing I'd like to talk about is a gentleman that gave the presentation originally, you know, that began this meeting. That guy's just doing a snow job. He got up, yeah, I mean, to start with, going up down 340, they got a sign about yay big that says that, something about this, it's too far from the road for me to read. I guess if I stopped with binoculars, I could see it. But anyways, that is setting, the lady was talking about karst topography, that's sitting in the middle of a sinkhole. It's maybe 50 acres of sink there. Anybody that's in Page County in '96 should remember at the trailer court, there was about 15 oil tanks floating around in water for 3 weeks before it went down. That went down, that went in somebody's well. And like she was saying about karst topography, that well might have been my well. It's about a half or to a mile from there. Or my brother's well, it's about that distance. It could have went in anybody's. So you know, they're not looking at that. And then the thing, I almost busted out laughing. He keeps insinuating vegetables, grow vegetables around solar panels and all. Well, that site down there can't grow vegetables. It can't legally grow anything that's for direct human consumption. It can grow for livestock, because right at the entrance, there's a big sign, yay big, says sewage application, sludge application. But it's state law. You cannot grow anything for human consumption where sludge is applied. You can grow livestock feed, but yet it's fine. Is that my time?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Steve Painter,
I won't take too much time. I'm Steve Painter. I live at Old Farm Subdivision. I'm a lifetime resident of Page County and 49 years at Old Farm Subdivision. My main concern is the groundwater. Our well for about 50 homes is within about 300 yards of that. And there's also wells that are private wells too. I'm kind of biased in that I worked at Luray Cabins for 7 years through high school. My son has worked there for 25 years. And I also, after I retired, I delivered merchandise to the Skyline Drive, and we don't realize just how much of beauty we have here in the valley. And if you think about it, in Virginia, the central section here is probably the prettiest in Virginia. Now too, Mr. Cuppage brought it up. I checked on the sign today that was supposed to be placed. You've got one sign, probably 18 by 24, and it wasn't there today. I guess the wind blew it off, and it's supposed to be kept up and visual. And when I went down last week, it was turned parallel with the road. You go across that hill, and it's parallel. It's not turned where you can read both sides. When I came back, I did see it, but today, it was down completely. So, yeah, I'm definitely against it, and I hope y'all feel the same. Thank you.
Lindsay Cumbia.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Cumbia. I am the 7th generation of farmer in my family to farm in Page County. I am against this project for all of the reasons that people have given behind me. I am sure that you're going to do the right thing and recommend denial of this project to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
John Grassmick.
John Grassmick?
Yes.
John Grassmick, I live off of 340. I want to talk about the concept of a limited liability company. Things go belly up, they walk away. Page County ends up with a problem. Now, the people in California didn't know that the whole state was going to burn down damn near. And the people in Arizona and New Mexico and LA didn't know that Lake Mead was about to dry up, which it is. My son lives in Tennessee. A few years ago, a hurricane come through there. First time ever. What I'm saying is, with global warming, that I personally believe in, we're talking about increase in storms. Let's say a storm, a real big storm hits Page County. And let's talk about groundwater. Let's talk about where does that groundwater go? I've got a well. Now, somebody's going to say, well, Mr. Grassman, I'm sorry. We didn't know this was going to happen. So it's a limited liability company. Things go belly up, we're stuck with it. Now, let's talk about the money. They say, okay, we're going to have increased property taxes. I would gladly pay. Oh, let's look at the difference between the revenue that they say over the life of the project. Let's break it down by Page County resident. I know, okay, let's look at this money. I would gladly pay a few dollars more in property tax not to have the project. Let's look at all the revenue that's going to come in. Well, let's look at it. First of all, this emotional project, okay? This is not every taxpayer in Page County. This is some of the people. Let's table this. Let's go out with a mailing to taxpayers, which you have the address, and let's ask them, are you for the project or you're not for the project? And let's put a space in there for comments. And let's look at that, and let's publish that in the Page paper, the results of that, okay? And then, let's make a decision. I know you people here are supposed to represent the Page County taxpayers. Well, let's just go ask them. This is not everybody. This is some of the people. Why can't we just go ask them and print that in the paper and then make a decision? But what you're doing here is potentially putting the county at risk. Because all of these things that are going on in the country, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the drought, the forest fires, all of this stuff. If you think Page County is immune, that's fine. But someday, somewhere, there's going to be a storm that hits there, and there's going to be a problem with a limited liability company that's going to walk away.
Barb Straw.
I try to mix it up.
Phil Sears.
Good evening. Good to see you all again. I won't take up too much of your time. Probably not the full 3 minutes. But here we are, again, almost 4 years from the day that this project's application, original application, was denied, or recommendation was made by the Planning Commission to deny. But here we are, it's before us again. The Planning Commission, along with that recommendation for denial, also requested that an ordinance to regulate these types of facilities be adopted before any further applications were considered. Well, we still don't have an ordinance, but we're reconsidering the same application. Actually, it's not the same application. Whereas the overall footprint, the total acreage involved is the same, the coverage of panels is actually more than the original. The reasons to recommend denial for this application have not diminished from the former application. They're stronger. The purpose of the special use permit process is to determine whether the use applied for is compatible with the surrounding uses. The blacked out map that Mr. Probst showed us is a perfect example of how incompatible this project is with the surrounding uses. Furthermore, the inherent danger and obtrusiveness of on-site battery storage facilities, switch yards, and substations have become better understood than when this project was first applied for. And regardless of all the pretty renderings, it will be practically impossible to effectively buffer this massive industrial complex from adjacent residences, the tourist corridor of US 340, and the scenic view sheds from surrounding mountain faces. Anyhow, I certainly hope that you're going to once again recommend denial, and thank you.
Bill Price. Suzanne Grant?
Oh, wait, Bill's coming.
Oh, okay.
I hate the mask, with my glasses, with a hearing aid. All three of them end up behind the ear, and you know that's trouble. Good evening. My name's Del Price. I'm the grandchild. So I used to hang out on Egypt Bend Road. I'm a Johnson, Beanie, Cyrus, Broadus, all of those. I do genealogy. I also have 15 solar panels on my house. So that tells you I like them. But I'm concerned about this primarily because there is no solar ordinance governing industrial solar. A good ordinance was prepared, I understand, by a consulting group for which the county paid $50,000. The supervisors declined to adopt it, but instituted a moratorium. Almost simultaneously, they lifted the moratorium and agreed to consider this project, which was rejected once. County residents have said no, and they have said no again and again. I think that my background is in economic development public policy. I would love to see an economic development project. I want to see more about the benefit and how this activity is connected to those plans. What projections do you have 3 to 5 years out for a project that has a 35-year life? The threat to wells and water supply has been mentioned. I repeat it. The size is significant. I repeat it. What I would recommend that I think would be beneficial for staff and for the commission, as well as for the Board of Supervisors, is that the staff have an opportunity to have a field trip. Talk to your peers. Go visit your peers. See what they have. See like size and see whether or not it's been proven in the field. Then come back and add that to our 3 to 5 year plan. Thank you.
Suzanne Grant?
Good evening, thank you so much. My name is Suzanne Grant. I'm a newer resident to Page County. I moved here 4 years ago after coming on vacation, falling in love with the place, buying a vacation home, and then deciding, why should I let someone else stay here? Told my boss I'm quitting unless I can work remote. Through the pandemic, the silver cloud that's been mentioned before is more and more people can come and live here and bring to Page County the economic development that we need. Before I worked in where I work now, I worked for the second largest utility company in the country, Duke Energy. And this solar project, I'm very much for solar. I would love to have it on my home. It's too expensive. I can't do it residentially. This solar project is 5 times bigger than the largest solar project that Duke Energy has, which is only 21 megawatts. Distributed solar is the way to go, not these large solar projects that are predatory and are not benefiting the people of Page County, who are already paying outrageously high electric rates, some of the highest in the country, and the highest that I've ever paid in my personal home, and I've lived in many different states across the country. Solar is wonderful, and solar has a place, but this is not the project for it. Urban Grid, which I find their name very interesting for this project, is a pure play solar company, and that's what they told us. That means they're going to sell this energy on the market to the top dollar, whoever's going to pay the most likely so that they can get green energy credits, so they continue to pollute the atmosphere with coal-fired power plants elsewhere. It's really not going to make anything greener, except the pockets of a few people, and probably really just one guy. I don't think that one person should benefit over the rest of the entire community. In addition, I don't see how this benefits the county. The people at the company have said that it'll boost our economic development. Yet there are no long-term jobs with solar energy. Duke Energy, who I work for, has multiple solar plants. They have over 50. None of those have a single person who works there full-time. It's not necessary. Duke Energy said that we were going to try and have farm animals underneath the power plant, or the power panels. Thank you. I get nervous. The power panels, that doesn't work. The animals end up destroying the panels, and it's not workable. So that, unfortunately, is a fairy tale that we would love to see, but won't come true either. I didn't want to be that lady from the school board meeting, so I did write my thoughts down, but I didn't intend to really speak. So I just want to close with saying that, this is predatory solar, any way you look at it. Don't sell off our future of tourism, and more people like me who are going to come to this community, invest in fixing up homes, invest in local businesses, and invest in Page County. Don't let them take our Page County away from us, please.
Chris Anderson?
Good evening. So here we are this evening. You've heard the concerns of the community at this meeting and in previous meetings. And these include the fact that the land is karst and poses impacts to water quality, negative impacts to world-class views, impacts to wildlife and ecology, impacts to adjoining landowners' health and property values, lack of jobs generated, questions of the safe disposal of damaged panels, inadequate revenue for these impacts, no direct benefit to citizens, questions of legal responsibility of the company and of the county, concerns of capacity of PJM to incorporate new projects into their schedules, concern regarding the process of the proposal being voted down and it has come back, and the lack of a solar ordinance. In light of these concerns, I do appreciate the Planning Commission having instituted over 30 conditions to help guide this project, but we do still need a solar ordinance. Renewable energy is great at the right place and the right scale. Let's watch how Dogwood Solar, how that project goes, since it's already approved. Let's promote smaller solar on rooftops, over parking lots, and on marginal lands before considering developments which take away prime farmland and negatively impact our thriving tourism industry. Thank you.
Jane Mangum?
I'm here, I'm back in the Zoom room. Cooler out here. Okay. My name is Jane Mangum. I live on Old Farm Road, and I have been a resident of Virginia for a whole 7 months. I am here tonight to turn in a petition. 181 signatures. You can put that in the record for tonight. I will say that everyone, 3 or 4 people helped with this petition, passing it around and getting signatures. Everybody that I talked to was extremely generous with their time, their knowledge, very friendly, and everybody had an opinion about the landfill. My interest in this is where we live on Old Farm Road. We will back right up to the solar field. The solars will be right out our backyard, and if you look out and turn your head slightly, we'll be looking at a 3-acre substation, which trees are not going to screen. There'll be a humming noise, there'll be lights. So one, that is a view, but mainly it's our property value. And I find Mr. Probst is really insulting our intelligence when he talks about the numbers comparing the taxes between agricultural land and housing taxes. Only other thing I wanted to say is I was at a cleaning commission meeting back, I believe, the end of January. You gave the annual report, and one of the things that was talked about is how your office has been bombarded by special use permits and building permits. And the discussion was, why? Why is this happening? And it's basically a mass exodus from Northern Virginia and Maryland. People, as people have said here tonight, everybody's discovering Page County and coming down here. So you all have a lot of work ahead of you. I appreciate all the work you do. And I will say on my husband's Facebook the other day, there was a little picture of a bladeless wind turbine. So there might be hope in the future for panels becoming smaller and more efficient. And maybe we could just dial it back a little and give it time. Thank you.
Charles Newton.
My name is Charles Newton. Have lived here in Page County for a long time. I know that the Planning Commission has done a lot of work, done your due diligence on this proposal. You've seen it now, well, this proposal recently, but something similar to it. I don't know if there's anybody here who did it. It was on the board at that time. But anyway, I'm in favor in general of solar. I just think that this particular project is too large and in the wrong place. And I hope that in your recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that you say that yes, this is not the right place or not the right project, that you recommend against it. And I hope you will also include a strong recommendation for an ordinance so that we can have applications that do meet the size and the scale, define how we shield the neighbors and so forth. So thank you very much.
Rod Graves.
Good evening. One gentleman tonight said that it's been going on for almost 4 years, or a little over 4 years. I've been here since that 4th year. It's been a long journey. I've learned a lot. I think all of us have. I've learned more about solar than I ever really wanted to know. It has its place, many have said. And I don't want to reiterate too much of what was said, but I think that there were some things said that stuck out to me as the most important things out of all things that were said. We have an industry here that's working. Farming's worked since man came to the valley, in this particular valley. Tourism's always worked. It's been a great, clean industry for our community, and it's thriving. I've been a tourism professional for 30 plus years. I can attest to, after going on 4 generations, that it does work. And this is definitely a threat to tourism, what's being proposed tonight, with this particular project especially. There was a general theme that kind of overwhelmed me tonight, and I don't think it's a trivial one. And one comment in the paper mentioned that it's the looks of things, and it really offended me because that's how I make my living. The looks of things. Beauty matters here, folks. We've got an extraordinary place. I've been all over the world. I've never seen anything like home. The people that live here, in my opinion, it's equal. And this beauty we share with others. And for all the things that have been brought to the table by Urban Grid, I just don't see it, that it's a viable project. It's a monstrous project. And I don't mean that in an ugly way. Its scale is alarming. It can be seen from 12 different places on Chino National Park, our main corridor to Luray, and all the people that rely on tourism, like myself. It has, and I don't think this is just an opinion, there are people that are concerned about the karst topography. I'm an expert with that too. I have grave concerns about that. It does affect drinking water, and everything rots, everything. And I think that these things will eventually rot, and we'll have one of the serious, super cleanups in American history. But that's just a prediction. Well, can't prove that one yet. I do believe in green energy, but look where it's got in Germany. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Isabel Graves?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. I want again to voice my opposition to the Cape Solar project for many reasons. The main one overall is that such an industrial-sized project should not be forced upon our small community without having a proper, well-thought and well-crafted ordinance that protects our area and puts the interests of Page County first. I have repeatedly opposed this massive project, not only because of its enormous size and intrusive location and the high visibility that cannot be minimized from the main entrance corridor into Page County, which is 340, and the Skyline Drive. I feel certain that just this one disproportionate large project would be damaging to the vital tourism industry in this county, and also that if this one project would be allowed without the proper ordinance, it can open the door to others that can be even bigger and more damaging. I'm personally not against solar energy, on contrary, and I believe that some of it is necessary, but it must be built responsibly and in appropriate places. But as we have diligently found out through the years now, it is an industry that has a massive footprint, and the foot should not be on the neck of a small community where agriculture and tourism are essentially. If it is coming to Page County, then we absolutely need to have an ordinance first that regulates it before we end up with our farmland greenwashed for our lifetime and beyond, with thousands of Chinese-made panels producing minimal energy for Nova only when the sun shines. So please deny this project. Yes.
Clyde Humphrey?
My name is Clyde Humphrey. I live in Luray. I would like to comment on several of the slides that Urban Grid presented this evening. They have a slide on finances that would indicate that the county would receive close to $7 million for the next 35 years. That's an average of only $200,000 per year. That is not a sufficient or amount of money to cause the county to approve this. The county is going to spend a lot of money just enforcing the terms of the special use permit. So this is not a significant amount of money. He had a slide that showed some pretty pictures and said there would be no leaching from these panels. He didn't say what kind of slides were in the photo, but also the Urban Grid has never told the county what kind of technology they're going to use in the slides. You know, crystal and silicone slides, panels are pretty safe, do not contain much in the way of toxic chemicals, but there's other kind of panels, including cadmium telluride, that can cause very dangerous leaching of heavy metals. But Urban Grid has never told us what kind of panels they're proposing to use. He talked about sheep grazing under the panels. We talked about this about 2 years ago. I went and talked to a sheep farmer on the north side of Kimball Road, adjacent to this site, and that farmer said he could never run sheep under these panels for several reasons. First, if he turned his sheep loose on 571 acres, he would never be able to control them. Second, his sheep are actually hybrid goat sheep, and they're going to jump up on the panels and damage the panels. I'll make a few other comments later, but the main point I want to say right now is that Urban Grid is not being fully honest when they show you deceptive photographs.
There are no more speakers.
It is 8:49. I'd like to close the public hearing portion of the Cape Solar SUP. All right, discussion from the commission members.
Mr. Chairman, members of the public, I stand ready to make a motion. However, I'd like to defer to my colleagues if they have any discussion or any comments that they'd like to make.
I have no comments.
Okay, there's no additional comment or discussion. We'll need a motion to proceed then.
Okay, well, I've got a couple comments and a motion. I'm humbled to be here tonight. You've humbled me with your comments. You're so well informed, you've done your homework. We ourselves on the Planning Commission have closely examined the Cape Solar project over the course of several months. In consideration of sound zoning principles, we have also drafted conditions geared towards the possibility of mitigating the adverse impact of this power plant on the neighborhood, the community, in terms of its industrial nature, its size, and its location. However, I have come to the conclusion that this project would have adverse impacts on the character of the neighborhood, the district, and our community. It would also have adverse impacts on abutting and neighboring properties. I therefore move to recommend denial of the Cape Solar project.
Motion to deny the Cape Solar project to the Board of Supervisors has been made. Is there a second?
I second.
The motion has been made. Properly seconded. Ms. Clutterbuck, a roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg?
Yes?
Mr. Smelser?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Bogner?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to take about a 5-minute recess here. Just that way, if anybody not wishing to stay, that we can go ahead and they can leave. You're more than welcome to stay if you want. We still have another portion of our meeting, but we're going to take a little bit of a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
They'd like to schedule a joint public hearing, and I think that's something we need to take a look at. Any discussion on that? In your packet that Tracy handed out to us, you will see what the proposed language would be, and that is on there. Tracy, you have any other comments on that, or?
I do not. The date that we were possibly looking at was April the 18th.
Okay. So, unless there's any other discussion on it, I mean, we're gonna have 2 more meetings to discuss anything that we need to change. We just need to set the date of the public hearing for that one with the board as a courtesy.
So is that the date, or is that?
April 18th would be the date of the joint public hearing.
And that's for the ordinance to amend a portion, right, that, to the definition?
That's right, that's just for that one.
Just for that one, not for the other one. Well, I move that we adopt that date, the public hearing.
It is for both.
Well, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do
I'm
each one
sorry.
separately,
Okay.
so that we have 2 motions on the table.
Okay.
All right, so then we have a motion then to go to a public hearing on an ordinance amendment on April 18th. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Ms. Clodderbucker, roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg?
Yes.
Mr. Smelser?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And Mr. Berner?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And then another issue in the new business. Currently, agriculture is not allowed on residentially zoned properties. And for some time, we've been trying to get an ordinance in place for that to be able to be possible. We had worked on that with the Berkeley group, have gotten about 90% done on that, and we're still trying to clear some things up. But with the issues, with the cost of everything right now, more and more people are going to be wanting to produce their own food on their own property. And just to keep from having as many people basically be in violation of the zoning ordinance, I think it's time to make that change. Of course, there'll be certain restrictions just because of the residential nature of where they're zoned. But I would also like, at the courtesy of the board, would also like to at the same time, we do a joint public hearing on April 18th for the ag and residential zoned properties ordinance as well.
I want to chime in just for a moment. When is Easter in comparison to that?
That would be the Monday after Easter, I think.
Correct.
Is that a problem for any of the members here? Vacation, holidays?
The county office is open that day, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we will be examining these issues.
Yeah, we've got 2. We have 2 meetings. Our next work session, and then we should have 1 regular meeting at the 1st of April. We'll have 2 additional meetings to discuss this, plus also the public hearing.
I move that we take both these issues to public hearing on April 18th.
All right, motion has been made. I'll need a second.
A second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Ms. Clodderbucker, roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg?
Yes.
Mr. Smelser?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And Mr. Berner?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Currently, I don't have any unfinished business. Open citizen comment period.
There are 11 speakers signed up. Susan Turlaw.
Yeah, I'm in my element, but I came here for. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for the invitation to discuss challenges and opportunities. And in that context, a challenge as a property owner and a business owner that has vacation rentals, I got to looking into the code, and I noticed that you're allowed to have a guest house. You can build a guest house on your property. My house has 3 apartments, so I'm locked into that, plus a single-family house. I looked into these tiny houses, is all I know to call them, because I have a lot of woods. And Page County does not permit them. And I just wondered if you could revisit the code and maybe adjust it if you feel led to. If not, I just, as a business person, didn't understand it because it's almost like a guest house. And with the way our culture is today, people are so stressed and they're all complaining about anxiety. And the first thing the doctor tells all of these people, get out in the woods, go hike, go do this. And I'd just like to help them if I could. And I thought financially, these tiny houses would be a much better way, personally, for me to go. And I didn't understand if you could have this where I couldn't have that. So I don't know the next step. I don't even know if I'm before the right people. But I'll take any advice. Or do you consider it? Or I don't know how it works.
We're in the process of doing a full zoning ordinance review. So when that comes up, we'll take a look at it.
It will come up.
We'll take a look at the entire zoning ordinance, so the entire thing will be under review. So everything will be analyzed.
And that will be included.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, and potentially, when would I know? Maybe before the season gets heavy?
It's a monumentous task. It's a big task to complete that thing. It's going to take several months, almost a year, before we ever complete it. So
I'm so grateful for each of the service that you do, and I know it's a lot. I don't participate a lot because I'm used to critters. Thank you.
Ken Farkas.
All right, I got two things this evening. The first thing is that you and I both know these carpetbaggers will be back. Okay, they think you're a bunch of hillbilly morons, and they offer you pennies while they take their millions to the bank laughing all the way. You've already lost control of Dogwood, okay, and I don't know that you can get it back. There needs to be a moratorium on new SUPs on solar. There needs to be a doggone ordinance, because until you have those things, you will continue to lose control of these solar efforts. As soon as you sign, yep, we'll do it, they are telling you what to do. And I'm offended by that. The second thing is, y'all need to get back to full strength. Y'all have done an outstanding job. I know that you have busted butt to get where we got to tonight. You need to get back to full strength. And that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to bring to the Board of Supervisors every meeting, is that the Page County Planning Commission needs to get back to full strength. Thank you.
There is a moratorium. Beth Snyder.
I just want to thank you guys for all your hard work and a great vote this evening. And note for the record that not one pro-solar person showed up, or one pro-industrial use solar on ag farm person showed up. Only one letter came in about it. So the majority is victorious this evening. Thank you.
Ken Jamality.
He left.
Kathy Herbert.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much for all the work that you did. And, you know, everybody's talked about the solar ordinance, but I think we need more than that. There are a lot of economic assumptions that Urban Grid made about, you know, comparing Page to Halifax, or saying that, you know, the impact on property values will be minimal. But we need to look at Page County for its uniqueness. We have a mix of agriculture and residential and business, but our residential is different because so much of it is rental for tourism. And so an awful lot of it is income producing business properties that look like houses. So I think before anything like this comes up again, we need to really know what our economy is, and we need a study of what is an appropriate use of the land, an appropriate economic development, and we need to have that as well as a solar ordinance. I think we also need to look at our geology. And there's a large part of this county which is karst, and which should be treated with great care, because as was mentioned, you know, if you have a sinkhole and it swallows an oil tanker, then we all, you know, and I didn't know that it happened, but, you know, we all pay a price for this, especially those of us with farms and wells and livestock. So we need to know what's under the ground in far more detail than we do. So we need to know our economy better than we do, and to have something like Urban Grid come in and say, well, the house next to the solar plant stayed the same value, does not take into account what we are and what we have and how we operate here. But I really do appreciate everything that you guys did with this. Thank you.
Bonnie Snyder. Dalton Good. Kay Kelly. Paul Scheingold.
Good evening. I want to give you a heartfelt thanks for responding to the community. It's nice to see our local government working for us. A little background on myself. I came here about 6 years ago, and I lived in some far-flung places, literally around the world. And I think it was through divine providence that I ended up in Page County. No intention of moving. What troubles me and puzzles me is, why are we still talking about this solar ordinance? Why don't we have something in place that guides us? We need guiding principles. Other places I've lived had ordinances, and we had to obey them at the risk of censure, fines, litigation, prosecution, you name it. Where I came from in Haymarket, company you all know, Disney came in and tried to build a theme park, and I got heavily involved with the Piedmont Environmental Council and the Virginia Outdoors Foundation. And I saw citizens and HOAs and POAs come together and fight Disney Corporation. There were rumors of corruption and payoffs, malfeasance, and it always troubles me when I hear this, because in my travels, and I have the luxury of time because I'm retired, I talk to a lot of people, and overwhelmingly they're against this. And I hear a lot of comments that I probably shouldn't repeat, but again, I'm so happy to see our government working for us. I'm reminded of a ancient song, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Pave paradise, put up a parking lot. And it's essentially what these group of carpetbaggers want to do, is build something that'll resemble a giant parking lot. Just be an eyesore. Future generations will have to endure. Anyway, you can't put a price on aesthetics or beauty. It's all subjective. Thank you for your time.
Betty Schmidt. Claude Humphrey.
I'm strongly in favor of solar. I put solar on my house that I had on Parkview Estates Road. I've designed solar systems and installed them for some other people. We need solar in the county, and it's very important to move forward on a program that will allow us to have a significant amount of solar. But it has to be regulated. The county should never be considering any application for a special use permit that is not properly regulated in the code. And we should enforce that. So it's really important to have a good solar ordinance to regulate solar before we consider any other application for for solar in the county. And that needs to be expedited because we really do need to develop solar in the county. And having a good solar ordinance that is properly constructed, that's reasonable to all parties concerned, is the way to avoid lawsuits. If you don't have an appropriate ordinance, then different applications go in different directions. You wind up having lawsuits because you're not consistent. And the way to avoid that problem is to have a good ordinance. So I really want to urge the county to quickly develop a good ordinance and pass it. Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
One thing I have for the chairman's report, I wanted to take the time, and especially on behalf of the planning commission, to just thank the staff here at the county. You all have put in a lot of time. I know that this SUP was not just your only job, and you all feel a lot of complaints, and you all don't get thanked near enough. So I just heartfelt thank you all for all you do to help the future of the county. Clerk's report?
I don't have anything other than just heads up, we're gonna have a full agenda for the next meeting.
All right, that being said, then I'll need a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we adjourn this meeting of the Planning Commission.
All right, motion has been made, I'll need a second.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor, go home.